What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Martin here at DataDash, and today is September 19th of 2017. So as you all keep up with my channel, whether you're an investor or trader in cryptocurrencies, you know that I'll tell you all the same time principle of buying low and selling high. So many traders and investors ignore it, and because of it, they get burnt. It's a simple principle, and it's so powerful. It really is the determiner as to whether or not you'll be successful or failing in whatever trading or investing you're doing. And it's across all different markets as well. I get so many requests, in fact, from people in my community who ask the same question. Nick, what do you think about this coin? Should I buy it? And a lot of the time, the coins that you all ask about are not only leaders in the market, they're coins that I've personally held before, coins that I see good long-term potential in and I've made money on before. However, there's a problem with the question. They're coming at the time when it's already had a 100 or 200% run-up. We don't buy at fresh highs, folks. We buy when it's low. We wait for the dip. We act patient. We have strategy set in stone. And if it executes towards our buy levels, we buy it and we ride it out to our sell levels and hopefully make a profit in the long run. So, that being said, now that we have that kind of mindset formed on our investing and trading, what are some good candidates we could get on a pullback? Some that are near or close to fresh highs and are looking to finally start pulling back and hopefully come towards some good dips so we can get them at a discount. Let's go ahead and look at the top 5 candidates that I found in the cryptocurrency space that are set for a pullback and could be good long-term buys for the current prices that we have set. Let's go ahead and take a look at them. The first one I want to talk about is Omise Go. Now, Omise Go, I gotta say, one thing I usually, I know everyone out there wants to say when they're right on things. I'll be honest in saying I was wrong on this. When I covered this ICO, I was one of the first YouTubers to do it. And I remember covering Omise Go, and it was around $250 million in value, just about like a month or two back. And I was sitting there, I'm like, guys, to be fair, I think this is a little too overvalued. I think it needs a pullback. And as much as I believed in it long term, and I believed that it could reach this status someday, it came much quicker than we expected. So I was wrong on that, and congrats to those of you who have been long on Omise Go. However, $1 billion is a very big even for the valuation. And quite frankly, if we look at the price action right now, it's a little overextended, folks. It's had a 10x run up against Bitcoin. More than that, actually, if you consider the peak. And it looks like it's finally starting to top over. So, that being said, I'm not negative on Omise Go. I love Omise Go for the long term, and I think it will continue to be one of the leaders in the market. However, we want to get it at a dip. We're not buying at these fresh highs. No, we want to get it when it pulls back, especially if we get a bear market in crypto, which would be awesome to get Omise Go at a really nice, cheap level. So what are the levels that I'm looking for Omise Go to pull back? Well, Omise Go has had an exuberant run-up, and rightfully so, to be fair, but at the same time, it's a little too over in the sense of exuberance, so we have to see a pretty strong pullback as well. Exuberance is known to make up all the difference in a couple days, folks. It's a time statement, especially in crypto, which is so new, and people end up funding a lot of time and they cash out. So here's what I would say. We're looking to hopefully get our first partial share, our first 50% of the buy, right here at 200,000 Satoshis. And then the second one, if we really get a far scale pullback, or full scale pullback, I would get my second partial share around 120,000 Satoshis. Now, if we were to do the 50% here and 50% here, these green lines that we have indicated on the chart, our average would be a buy at 160,000 Satoshis. So this isn't a buy level right here. This is just showing you what the average cost of our position would be per Omise Go that we get. And we're hoping that we can have a pullback down here, hopefully hit both these levels and eventually come back up. Just how it came up very quickly, we expect a quick pullback and hopefully a quick run up back. Now, of course, this is all dependent on when you would want to execute the trade. I have the lines out till December 1st. That's how long I'll be willing to hold the buys once they get triggered. But for me, I really think we can get a quick pullback and a ride back up. I think that 50% I'm going to close right here at 320,000 Satoshis to lock in 50% of my profit. And the rest, I'm just going to let it run. I'm going to let it run for a while and see how high Omise Go can, well, Omise Go can go over time. And it's going to be a little bit longer than December 1st. So that's one of my trades there. So again, I'm hoping that it will hit both of my buy levels, these two green lines. However, if it comes down, let's say, for example, hits here and it rides down this way, passing the yellow line, and it doesn't reach here, but it starts to curve up. I would set a buy order for around 160,000 satoshis, or if it comes up here and it doesn't even trigger the yellow line, I would just buy my second partial share here again at 200,000 satoshis. Sometimes you don't always get your levels, folks, but we're being disciplined here. We have our levels set, and we know what to do in any kind of case scenario. And also as well, I would do a 10% stop loss on this trade for Omise Go from the lowest level. Alrighty, next up, let's go to see ARK. I love ARK. This is one of the ones that I've been talking about on my channel. We did a video on it recently, seeing as there's been a recent run-up in ARK, and I'm glad to see that with its team and its technology, which I think have a lot of long-term potential, it's finally getting a sense of adoption, and people are starting to recognize it. So for the longs, congratulations so far on ARK. However, I gotta say, folks, as much as I believe in the benefits of the long term for ARK and the adoption, it's had an exuberant run-up. And we're already starting the pullback. I told people, when we got around over 100,000 satoshis on this one, be careful. It's a little overextended, and we have been getting a pullback on it. Now, how fast will it pull back and how far will it pull back? I don't really know. I mean, to be fair, I really think we can follow past price history with ARK. This was one of the trades that I showed as an example to my private live stream viewers just the other day. And I was noticing how on ARK we see continued more than 50% pullbacks in the run-up for ARK. So ARK, for example, here went around 25,000 satoshis, pulled back to 10,000. If you consider the Wix breakout as well, it's even higher. But if you look over here as well, around 40,000 all the way down to 15,000 satoshis. So more than 50% both times. And I think we're going to get something along those lines similar to here as well. So the peak was really around 110,000 to 120,000 satoshis, and I think we're going to get around a 50 to a 70% pullback in it. So again, much like how exuberance can come in quickly to push up a price, it can make up all the difference in just a few days. And I think that within the next week or two, we could possibly continue to see the sell-off and trigger our two buy orders, averaging out at 55,000 satoshis. The first one being at 60,000 for 50% of our position, and then the other half at 50,000. So again, same strategies applied to the previous ones, depending on how the price action acts in between these two buy levels, but I think we can easily trigger both of them and get support along this buy level down here. And hopefully ride up, and I'm going to sell 50% at around 110,000 satoshis, and then the other 50%, I'm going to let it ride. I really do like ARK long term, and I think it's going to continue to rise up and be one of the leaders in the space. So that's my strategy, as well as for my stop, if things don't go on, it continues to go through, I'm doing a 10% on my lowest level. So next one I want to talk about is Lisk. Lisk is another one that has been keeping the headlines over the past few days, and actually the past few weeks per se. And a lot of people have been saying that this is going to be big after it rebrands and that we're going to start seeing mass scale adoption. I do agree to a sense. However, I think that right now the valuation is a little overextended for the lack of adoption that it has so far. And the other thing too is that the rebranding has pushed this price up too much. If we go to look at Lisk's chart right here, there's been a pretty exuberant run-up just from a simple rebranding. And to be honest, the volume really wasn't there comparative to the past. So again, I got to be a little bit skeptical that we're going to hold these highs for as long as we have, or continue to hold them as long as we have. And I think we're going to get a pretty strong pullback, especially if markets start to topple over. However, I like Lisk long term, and I think that it could be a good holding, but we want to get it at a pullback. So here's the thing we're going to do. I think we're going to get a pullback at least more than around, or I wouldn't say exactly, I would say a 50% pullback from its highs at 180,000 satoshis. Right now we're sitting around 159,000, and I think we're going to continue the pullback, and I want to get an average around the 50% mark. 90,000 is a half of 180,000. So I want to get my first buy level here at 100,000 satoshis and then one at 80,000 satoshis. And again, I have a stop level set around 70,000 here. This red line indicates the stop level. If I go there, it sells off all my orders that I bought. But I think the moving averages are really going to come in to provide a nice sense of support around these buy levels. I think that the 200-day is probably going to be that candidate as it's pulling back. So again, keep an eye on it. I think that Lisk is a good pullback item to watch for, and I like Lisk long term. But again, much like over here, it's on the expensive end, and exuberance can be made up quite quickly, whether it be a month or two. So again, I think this would be a good trade for a pullback, and I think we could ride up. I'm going to sell 50% of my position here, and then I'll let the other rest of it ride out and see what it does. Next up, we've got Monero. We've been talking about Monero and a lot of other privacy coins recently on this channel because privacy is back in the headlines. It's a big focus in cryptocurrency and was one of the reasons why Bitcoin itself even got, notified, not notified, I guess, kind of picked up and adopted in the space comparative to traditional currency. So privacy is coming back in as Bitcoin has been having flaws with privacy. And as you all know, I'm optimistic on Monero. I've talked about it in my videos. And it's the leading privacy coin. No matter where you stand, whether you think there's a better privacy coin out there, Monero is the leading one right now. So we have to give it a sense of respect there. However, Monero's been in a nice pullback so far. I remember when people were buying in here at 3,400,000 Satoshis, and I was like, be careful, guys. That's quite expensive. And Bitcoin is overextended as well. And luckily, we got the pullback so far. However, we still look like we could have some more room to pull back. This looks like it's topping over and it's going to break to new lows. And it's going to find some support within this range that was previous resistance. So what are we looking for? We're looking for an average buy level of around 2,200,000 Satoshis. My first one is at 2,300,000 Satoshis, and then 2,100,000 Satoshis, averaging out, of course, to 2,200,000 Satoshis. And then my stop level is at 2 million Satoshis for Monero. I think that this is a good leader. I think it's one that you should watch. And again, I'm going to hopefully get both of my levels here, be able to sell 50% here, and see if it continues to carry out. And once I'm 5% above this level that I've sold, I'm going to raise my stop up to here as well. And you have to raise your stop limit as well to your risk to reward profile as well as you go along with the trades and stuff. Depends if you're in this for the long run, or how strong you think, the run-up's going to be, or how much room you want to give it between where it's at and where you'd be considerably all right with selling something. All right, next up, speaking of the privacy space, Pivx is another one to watch. I think Pivx is good. It has a very nice limited supply, or not a limited supply, but a very low circulating supply that I like, and it gives a sense of limitation to it. So I really like that about Pivx. It's got leading privacy technology, and a lot of people in the Pivx community are very optimistic about it. So again, one of the privacy coins that I recommend to you all, and if you want to learn a little more about it, I would definitely recommend checking out my video on it. However, Pivx is a very interesting one right now. It's been riding, all the moving averages are starting to coil in together, and we're going through a little bit of a wedge with the price action over a longer term trend. As you can see, we have rising bottoms, lowering tops on the price action. And it seems like the price action is correlating in. So what we want to do is, now that it's on the higher end, we want to look for a pullback and a buy-in area. So I want to average out at around 55,000 Satoshis, my first one being 60,000, the second one being 50,000. And once I get the position, I'm hoping that we can ride up along here and hopefully break out of the wedge. That would be awesome. I hope it's to the upside. If not, however, I do have a stop level prepared. And I also have my sell levels for the positive side. I hope to sell my first 50% at 110,000 Satoshis, and then the second one at around 170,000 Satoshis. So hopefully we'll have a great run up in Pivx. I like it long term, and we've seen that it's had drastic run ups in the past. So I think that we could easily see this. It just needs the sense of exuberance and the topic of privacy to continue in the discussion of the crypto community. And last but not least, my favorite in the decentralized marketplace and the sense of cryptocurrencies is Syscoin. I like Syscoin. It's been one of my favorites. I was one of the first YouTubers again to cover this one way back when it was still early on in its project. And Syscoin has really started to gain some attraction ever since the altcoin bubble. So I'm definitely interested in buying some Syscoin on a dip. I think it's the leader right now in its space, respective of the other options out there. However, we have to wait for a little bit of a pullback. We have gone through a lot of it, to be fair. We went from around 8,000 Satoshis, now down almost 50% to 4,359. But quite frankly, folks, I think we could get it a little more of a discount, and we still have to wait a little while before we really get into this in an exuberant factor. So I think what we'll see is a touch on the 200-day. Now, here's how I'm going to do this trade. I'm going to be keeping an eye on this one, and if it rides along the 200-day, I'm going to buy my entire position there. However, if it breaches the 200-day, I'm going to place my first 50% or 50% partial share once it breaches the 200-day pretty heavily. And then I'm also going to buy my second partial share at 3,500 Satoshis. Sorry, 3,500 Satoshis. And hopefully, with my order that I buy, I'll be able to sell my first partial share of 50% at 7,000 and my second one at 9,000, averaging around 8,000 satoshis for the sell point. So it'll be a really nice return, hopefully more than 100% if I can get the correct buy levels. So again, keep an eye on Syscoin. This has been a leader in the space. If you think that the decentralized market on the blockchain is going to be a concept that can win in the long term, Syscoin has been working on the software for the platform, and they're making it a lot more user-friendly compared to other competitors in the space. So I think it's continued to be a leader, and I think it will continue so long as there's no other competition that comes out to correct what Syscoin has. Well, that's it, everyone. Thank you all so much for watching the video. I'd like to hear down in the comments down below what you all think about these. Do you think that they're potential winners? Is there one that I missed that you think would be really good on a pullback? Let me know down in the comments down below. I'd like to get a discussion going with you all. But until then, everyone, I will see you all in the next video. Stay tuned.